I thought the worst thing in my marriage was silence. 32 years together, and somehow we had learned how to live like strangers under the same roof. But the night a snowstorm buried my yard, a stranger's warning turned my quiet life into a nightmare. I ignored my husband's order, left the snow untouched, and went to sleep believing nothing would change. By morning, deep footprints circled my house, and I realized someone had come for more than my property. That was the moment I understood my marriage wasn't just broken, it was dangerous. I never believed in omens. Not really, I believed in routines, in lists written on the back of envelopes, in soup simmering long enough to soften bone and memory. I believed in snowstorms being just snowstorms, and marriages slowly turning quiet, not because something was wrong, but because that's what time does when you let it. That belief ended the night a stranger told me not to touch the snow. It was early December in Springfield, Illinois, the kind of winter where the sky feels heavy even before the flakes begin to fall. I stood in line at Oak Street Grocer, clutching a canvas bag that had seen better decades. At 58, I didn't wander big supermarkets anymore. I went where the cashier knew my name, where nothing changed fast enough to scare you. In front of me stood a tiny woman, folded in on herself like paper left too long in the rain. Her scarf was faded, her coat too thin for the weather. She spilled coins onto the counter, pennies, nickels, quarters, counting them twice, then again, hands trembling. "I'm sorry, ma'am," the cashier said gently. "You're $1 short." The woman blinked, confused. "That can't be right. I counted at home." People behind me shifted, sighed. Snow pressed harder against the windows. I looked at the items on the belt: bread, milk, 3 potatoes, a single onion, and something inside me cracked open. "I've got it," I said, stepping forward. I placed a bill on the counter. "Please ring it together." The old woman turned to me. Her eyes were wrong, not cloudy, not tired, clear, sharp, as if she were looking through me and seeing everything I never said out loud. "Thank you," she whispered. "Kindness remembers." I smiled, embarrassed, and gathered my own groceries. Chicken for soup, vegetables, bread, enough to last while my husband was gone. I was halfway to the door when her fingers closed around my coat sleeve. They were strong, shockingly so. "Listen to me," she said, leaning in close. Her voice smelled of winter herbs and something older. "When your husband leaves tonight, do not touch the snow in your yard. Do not clear it, not until morning." I laughed because that's what you do when fear doesn't yet have a name. "Okay," I said, half joking. Her grip tightened. "Promise me. Your life depends on it." The way she said life made my heart skip. "I promise," I murmured, just to get free. She released me, nodded once, and walked out into the storm, moving far faster than someone her age should have been able to. On the bus ride home, I told myself she was lonely, or confused, or both. People say strange things when they've been alone too long. Still, her eyes followed me all the way home. The house at 17 Maple Street was dark when I arrived. Mark had left early to prep the truck. 32 years of marriage, and I still organized my days around his rotes. The house warmed slowly as I lit the stove, unpacked groceries, moved on autopilot. At exactly 6, the door opened and cold rushed in with my husband. Mark Harper filled the doorway the way he always had. Broad shoulders, weathered face, eyes that once softened when they found mine. He didn't look at me now. "Is everything ready?" he asked, already pouring tea, already scrolling his phone. "Yes," I said. "I'll pack it." I worked in silence. Containers, lids, labels. He drank his tea, 3 sugars, no thank you. "You'll clear the snow tonight," he said. "The driveway's bad." "It's already dark," I began. "The storms." "Tonight," he cut in, finally looking at me. His eyes were flat. "I don't want trouble in the morning." The words from the store echoed in my head. "When your husband leaves tonight, do not touch the snow." "When do you go?" I asked. "About an hour." He showered, packed, took the food. No kiss, just a nod. At the door, he turned back. "Don't forget the snow." Then he was gone. The engine faded. The house fell silent. I stood there staring at the door, and for the first time in years, I felt something close to fear. Outside, the snow fell harder, thick, heavy, relentless. I could have put on my coat, grabbed the shovel, done what I'd done 1,000 times before, but I didn't. I told myself it was exhaustion, the storm, common sense. I told myself I'd do it in the morning. Still, I locked every door twice. Sleep came in fragments, dreams full of white silence and that woman's voice repeating, "Don't touch it. Don't touch it." I woke before dawn. The storm had stopped. The world was unnaturally quiet. I went downstairs, started the kettle, and pulled back the curtain. My breath caught in my throat. The yard was perfect, smooth, untouched, except for the footprints. They were deep, large, men's boots, leading from the gate straight toward the house, not Mark's. I knew his stride, his weight. These were heavier, slower, deliberate. They circled the house, stopped beneath every window. My knees weakened. Someone had been there, while I slept, while I was alone. If I had cleared the snow, I wouldn't have seen a thing. My hands shook as I reached for the phone, and somewhere in the back of my mind, a terrible realization began to form, one that had nothing to do with strangers and everything to do with the man who had just driven away. I stood frozen at the window, staring at the truth written in snow, wondering who had come for my house, why they had come at night, and how close I had come to losing everything without ever knowing. And as you imagine standing where I stood, heart pounding, breath shallow, ask yourself honestly, would you have followed a stranger's warning, yes or no? My first instinct was to run outside and follow the footprints, as if answers might still be warm beneath the snow. My second instinct, the stronger one, was fear. I forced myself to step back from the window. My reflection stared at me in the glass, pale and older than it had any right to be. Someone had walked around my house in the middle of the night. Someone who knew I was alone. My phone felt slippery in my hand as I scrolled through contacts until I found the one name that steadied me a little. Officer Greg Lawson. He'd been our community officer for years. The kind of man who waved at you from his patrol car and remembered where you lived. He answered on the third ring. "Linda?" His voice sharpened instantly. "What's wrong?" I swallowed. "Someone was in my yard last night. There are footprints, big ones. They went around the house. Mark left for a long haul yesterday. I was alone." There was a pause, then calm authority slid into his voice. "All right, don't go outside, don't touch anything. I'm on my way. 20 minutes. I hung up and locked the door again, even though it already was. The house felt different now, smaller. Every creak sounded like a threat. When Officer Lawson arrived, his headlights cut through the pale morning like a promise. I opened the door before he could knock. He followed the tracks carefully, crouching, studying them the way doctors study symptoms. "Size 11 or 12, he muttered. "Heavy boots, purposeful. Whoever this was didn't wander." "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means he knew exactly what he was doing." Those words settled in my stomach like ice. We crossed the street to my neighbor Carol Thompson's house. She opened the door in her robe, eyes widening when she saw Greg. "You'd better come in," she said immediately. "That storm was awful." Her security camera footage told the rest of the story. At 11:45 p.m., a dark sedan pulled up across from my house. A man stepped out, face hidden, logo visible on the side of the car. He opened my gate, walked inside. 10 minutes later, he left calmly, locked the gate behind him, drove away. No rushing, no fear. I felt cold spreading through me, not from the winter. "That's a company car," Greg said. "See the logo?" I leaned closer to the screen. The image was grainy, but the word home was clear enough. "Homebridge Realty," Carol said slowly. "I had an appraiser from there last year." My heart skipped so hard it hurt. An appraiser? Why would an appraiser come to my house at night? Greg's eyes narrowed. "Linda, has anyone been talking about selling your house?" "No," I said immediately. "Never." "Not even your husband?" The question hit harder than I expected. "No," I repeated, though suddenly the word felt fragile. We drove straight to Homebridge Realty. The office smelled like coffee and expensive cologne. Ethan Grayson, the director, smiled too quickly when Greg showed his badge. "Your appraiser visited 17 Maple Street last night," Greg said. Who ordered the evaluation? Grayson flipped through a folder. Mark Harper, the homeowner. I felt the room tilt. I'm the homeowner, I said. That house is in my name. He blinked, confused. There's a notarized power of attorney. Signed by you. He slid the document across the desk. It was my name, my address, my signature, and yet it wasn't. I didn't sign this, I whispered. Greg's jaw tightened. When did you receive this document? A week ago, Grayson said. Mr. Harper said his wife trusted him to handle the sale. The sale? My ears rang. How much? I asked. $420,000. The words didn't register at first. What did register was the next one. There's already a buyer, Grayson added. Cash, ready. If I had cleared the snow the night before, I would never have known. If the footprints had vanished, the sale would have gone through. Greg closed the folder. This deal is canceled. We're opening a fraud investigation. Outside the office, the sky seemed too bright, too normal for the world I'd just stepped into. Why? I asked Greg, my voice breaking. Why would he do this to me? Money, he said gently. It's almost always money. I didn't cry until I was alone in the kitchen that night. 32 years, every meal, every goodbye, every lonely winter evening, while he was on the road. All of it traded for a check. When Mark called later, I didn't answer. When he texted, I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. The next morning, I called a lawyer. The day after that, Greg called me back. They picked him up, he said. He confessed. Gambling debts. He thought he'd fix it before you noticed. Before I noticed. I sat at the kitchen table long after the call ended, staring at the yard where the snow had finally begun to melt, revealing muddy ground beneath. The truth felt the same way. I didn't know yet how my life would look without him. I only knew I would never shovel away a warning again. The house didn't feel empty at first. It felt stunned, as if every wall, every door frame, every familiar corner was waiting for Mark to walk back in and explain everything away with one last excuse. For days, I moved through the rooms quietly, afraid that if I breathed too loudly, the truth would shatter all over again. Officer Lawson called 2 days later, early in the morning. They picked him up, he said calmly. He didn't resist. I sat down at the kitchen table, my fingers wrapping around a mug I hadn't even realized I was holding. He confessed, Greg continued. Forgery, fraud, intent to sell. He said he thought he could fix it before you ever found out. Before I found out. The words landed heavier than anything else he said. He admitted the gambling debts, Greg added. Online betting, slot machines, loans stacked on top of loans. He was desperate. Desperate enough to erase me. What happens now? I asked. The deal is void. The documents are fake. The house is legally yours and will remain yours. Because he confessed and no money changed hands, the court will likely give him probation and restitution. I nodded, though he couldn't see me. And the power of attorney? I asked. The notarized one. We're investigating the notary. The signature will go to a handwriting expert. If it's proven forged, that strengthens the case. Wow. When the call ended, I stayed seated long after the screen went dark. 32 years. That was how long it took for my marriage to turn into a police report. Mark called that evening. I watched his name light up my phone. My thumb hovered over the screen. Part of me wanted answers. Another part wanted to hear his voice one last time, just to confirm that the man I loved was truly gone. I let it ring. A message followed. I never meant to hurt you. We need to talk. I stared at the words until they blurred, then set the phone face down on the counter. Talking wouldn't change what he had done. The lawyer appointment was 2 days later. The word divorce felt foreign in my mouth when I said it out loud, like a language I never expected to learn. The lawyer was kind, efficient, and unsurprised. It's good you came immediately, she said. Cases like this can get messy if people wait. Messy. That word echoed later as I packed a small bag and went to stay with a friend while Mark collected his things. I couldn't watch him walk through the house anymore. I didn't want to see him touch the walls, the furniture, the life he had almost sold from under me. When I came back, the silence hit harder than any argument ever had. His side of the closet was half empty. The garage looked wrong without his tools lined up. A pale rectangle marked the spot where a photo of us once hung. I took the rest of the pictures down myself. I didn't throw them away. I wasn't ready for that. I placed them carefully into a box and carried it to the attic, as if laying something to rest. The nights were long. I woke up more than once, reaching across the bed before remembering there was no one there. Sometimes I cried. Sometimes I didn't feel anything at all. But slowly, something unexpected crept in. Peace. No tension in the air. No waiting for footsteps. No walking on eggshells, wondering which version of my husband would walk through the door. I realized how tired I had been for years without knowing it. Spring arrived early that year, melting the snow in a matter of days. I stood by the window, watching the yard reappear beneath the white, remembering the footprints that had changed everything. If I had cleaned the snow that night, none of this would have happened. I would still be married to a man who was already halfway gone. I applied for a part-time job at the local library because I needed something that felt safe, familiar. The director, Susan Reynolds, was close to my age, with kind eyes and no interest in my resume gaps. "Do you like books?" she asked. "I've lived in them," I said. She smiled. "You'll fit right in." The library became my anchor. Quiet mornings, soft conversations, the comforting weight of stories that reminded me life could break and still continue. I met women who carried their own scars, widows, divorcee, survivors. One afternoon, a woman named Vera leaned closer and said, "Starting over at our age isn't easy." "No," I said honestly, "but staying would have been worse." She squeezed my hand. "That means you're stronger than you think." In June, Carol Thompson came over one evening with 2 cups of tea and sat beside me on the porch. "Do you ever think about that woman?" she asked softly. "The one from the store?" I nodded. "All the time." "No one remembers her," Carol said. "It's like she vanished." I looked out at the yard, now green and uneven and real. Maybe she wasn't meant to stay. Carol was quiet for a moment. "Do you think she knew?" "I think," I said slowly, "she saw something I couldn't yet." That night, I signed up for a painting class. I booked a weekend trip to a nearby city. I planted flowers along the fence where the snow had once hidden the truth. Mark was sentenced in late summer. 2 years probation, financial restitution, no prison time. No, he looked smaller in the courtroom, older. He didn't look at me. I didn't look at him either. The divorce finalized a month later. When I walked out of the courthouse, the sun was bright, almost painfully so. I realized I was smiling, not because it was over, but because I was still here. Some nights now I sit on the porch and listen to the quiet. I think about how close I came to losing everything without ever knowing. How one small act of kindness saved my home, my future, and maybe my life. I don't know who that woman was, but I know this. Sometimes the universe whispers before it screams. And if you've stayed with me until the end of this story, I want to know what you felt. Was it anger, sadness, or hope that stayed with you the most? Do you believe Linda was right to walk away and choose herself? Yes or no? If this story touched you, comment 100 below so I know you were here with me. Tell me which country you're watching from, and please share this video with someone who might need to hear that even after betrayal, it's still possible to begin again.